Fine greetings, entities, energies, lovelies, bodies of light, seekers and sojourners of truth, the 144, the chosen of the chosen of the chosen few, and you know who you are. I am Akila Textry, and I greet you in the love that lights the truth from my heart to yours. Greeting you in this beautiful day in the divine essence, the divine energy essence of it all. Reporting to you live from what? 5D. And what am I reporting to you now? Happy, true, new year. The true new year. Happy, true, new you. Happy, true, new year. For those of you who know, we've been waiting on the new year. Those who are awakened into this freshly, because I heard a lot of people talking about this, as I said, a lot of people coming online and waking up to the truth. I've been doing this for like the past 2 years or so. This is my third celebrating New Year's at spring. So happy true new you, and I welcome all the people that are waking up to that and saying happy new year in spring right now, where we are just celebrating all that is love, light, that light that's shining on me right now, springtime, where the leaves are so green. But I'm in Florida, so it's always green, but you know what I mean. Green time, flowers coming, birds. I don't know if you could hear the birds, but I could hear them a little bit. Oh, just saw one. I could hear them off in a little distance. All day I've been hearing the birds, all day. And my squirrel friend came by today. I had to give him some extra nuts, pour some extra nuts out for him. I was like, oh, my 5D creature's coming out right now, because the squirrels are my 5D, if you're telling me what's going on. And the birds are my spiritual thoughts. That's when I'm sitting in nature doing my whole Pocahontas thing, speaking, listening to the wind. Like right now, the ancestors in the wind just, woo, they celebrating with us. Right? That is a happy, true new year. Happy true year, or happy true new year, whatever you want to call it. Right? So welcome in this spring equinox. Whenever the spring equinox hit and says it's spring, it's time for us to spring forward in this Aries. It's also, I believe, 0 degrees Aries. We're entering into Aries. The end of the year ends with the end of the astrological cycle. The last 3 signs, which are Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So now we're starting the new year, the new astrological year, Aries, which begins in spring for those of us in the northern hemisphere. Right? So beautiful. What I want to talk about with this education about it, because I gave a little bit before, speaking about coming out of the respiriting and into the spring equinox, and now I'm talking about the new year and what this new year brings for us. So what are we doing? What did we do with the respiriting? As I said, determines what we're doing moving forward. And as usual, I'm bringing you that news that you choose to infuse with, if you so choose to. So this news here, what I've been getting, I've been watching a couple of things, hearing overall what spirit is guiding and showing. A lot of it lately for the past couple of weeks has been listening to your feelings, listening to the feminine, leading with the feminine, allowing the feminine to put the feminine first, so to speak, for the past couple of weeks. See, it's no coincidence that we've been in Women's Month or Women's Day around this time, because this is a time where it's time to put the pieces together. It's time to really listen to the woman, which is listening not the gender. I'm speaking the feminine energy, which is in all of us, whether you're a male or a female. We all carry the masculine and feminine energy, but it's time for us to really listen to our feminine energy, which means practicing receptivity and listening. This is what we've been doing for the past couple weeks, I should say. Now it's time to move forward, to spring forward into the divine masculine, right? We've been doing all this to put everything together. What am I talking about? That ego, right? And what I want to talk about, I'm going to say it coming from a Kemetic standpoint, since this is where I go to in my book of life. In my DNA activation, I get taken to either the pyramids, or my ancient ancestry in my blood is Kemetic, so it goes back to Kemetic times for me a lot. The Kemetic information kind of really ties it together. So I want to go to the Ossetian or the Asaurian tablets, if you will, right? The tablets in the book of life within. So let's understand that so we can know how we're coming into spring. What is spring really about? Why do they have it as the resurrection and things like that? And it's really about I want to talk about the trinity of divinity within us, right? Which is the Aset, Asar, and the Heru, right? Which ultimately, when you look at it, to tie it together, just to simplify it a little bit, I usually talk about it in the sense of there's a threefold to our soul's consciousness, which is superconscious, conscious, and subconscious. The conscious is the masculine, the subconscious is the feminine, and the superconscious is our divine I am self, or Christ mind, or Christ consciousness, whatever it is that you want to term it, right? So that would be the Heru. Let me parallel it together so you can follow me in this story. So the conscious phase of mind would be the masculine, which would be Asar. The subconscious mind would be the feminine, which would be Aset. And then Heru, Aset, gives birth or becomes impregnated with Heru, while remembering the pieces of Asar, because Asar was killed by Set, which is also a double part of the masculine, right? There's the masculine is a twofold, and so is the feminine, because you have the higher side of both, and you also have the lower side, the shadow side, I should say, which is the misappropriated side, right? So you have your higher thoughts and feelings, and then you have your misappropriated thoughts and feelings. So Set is the misappropriated ego that kills Asar, right? And so completely dismembers, right? Dismember you, which means you no longer remember who you are, and you don't have a true connection. You're dismembered, right? In your I am, in the Asar of you, which is your higher self. And so it takes Aset, for those of you who know the story, Aset pieces his joins him back together, which is to remember. He's been dismembered, and she remembers by finding all of his pieces and putting them together and bringing him back to life. So Aset represents also bringing back to life the fertility of her. And while she's remembering him, while she is reconnecting and doing what she needs to do, that activity alone allows for her to become impregnated with Heru. So what does that mean in the conscious phase of mind, right? What that means is when the conscious and the subconscious comes together. When the subconscious, more specifically, which is Aset, the feminine, when the feminine puts the pieces back together, remembers, recalls, remembers onto the ego who you really are, and brings back to life. Well, it didn't bring back to life until Heru was able to come through and avenge by killing Set. But while remembering, she becomes impregnated with Heru. So while we remember, because the feminine, not just Aset, what the feminine energy also represents is feeling, intuition, and memory. Get it? Memory. So while she remembers and brings forth through memory a recollection, right? A reconnection through recollection brings forth Heru, because she, in this memory process, she is harmonizing with the masculine, because she's remembering who? The masculine. She's remembering Asar, bringing Asar back together. So there is a harmonizing that is happening between the masculine and feminine, and that is how it becomes she becomes impregnated with Heru. Because it's as simple as this. Like I always say, when we harmonize between the conscious and the subconscious, then we bring forth the superconscious. The free-flowing ideas from the superconscious flows through us, but we have to have that harmony between the conscious and the subconscious. And usually the subconscious has to do the work of remembering, or bringing the memory to the surface, so to speak, because the subconscious is under. So it brings the memories to the light, to the conscious phase of mind, to the surface. And in doing so, it then begins to become pregnated. It begats Heru. And then now once Heru comes, here's the rise of the Christ consciousness. Here's the resurrection, the true resurrection, right? The rise of consciousness that brings Heru forth. And then Heru can now kill Set, because it's like we don't have the power on our own of myself, I can do absolutely nothing, kind of like that. We don't have the power on our own to get rid of the misplaced ego that we need to get rid of. So it's when we do that work, when we let Aset do her work, give birth to Heru. Now here comes the superconscious, and it's the power of the superconscious mind. Only the superconscious or the Christ conscious can get rid of Set, can offset, and then restore Asar. But by the time he restores Asar, Asar is now risen in a state of like Asar has become a god, put it that way. So it's like when we resurrect, when we come to, we now are at a level of in our godship, so to speak. We're resurrected in our godship. So think about that now that you know the story, right? This is how I see what was happening during the respiriting. And the set is what happens. The set is the ego part of us that needs to die away. And that's why it's important for us to do the respiriting. That's what it was about for these past 3 months in the winter season, doing what it takes to get rid of it, going through getting your understanding, your insight, your intuition, and all of this is feminine activity. But if you look at the last couple of weeks, which is, let's say, within the last month of this respiriting, this is where we really needed to listen to the feelings, the feminine, and this is where the intuition can guide you, but you have to be willing to listen to that intuition, allowing her to lead. And the only way to do that is by continually practicing the respiriting to put down Seth. And it's an ongoing thing. It's not a one-time thing, is what I noticed even with this story. This is why we get the 3 months to do it, because we first do it in an acute way, very sharp, in a sharp way, in the 3 days from the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, those 4 days, those 3 days actually, death to the ego, when the sun dies, that's when we really get to work the respiritivity is what I call it. You know how they say the nativity scene? It's really the respiritivity scene. It is the death for a birth. It's actually the birth of, if you think about this whole respiriting season, that point in time is the beginning of it. So it's actually the birth of the death, if that makes sense. It's the birth of the death of the ego. So it's when we're birthing the process to then practice for the next 3 months, death to ego, respirit, 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 constantly putting Set down, constantly putting down that misappropriated ego, so that our Set can do what she needs to do, so that our feminine can remember, can gain some understanding, gain some insight, and then use her intuition to open a door for wisdom. Our wisdom comes when we rise, when we resurrect. So this is why it said in the beginning, that's why I say it's the birth of a death to the ego, because at that point, when we first do it for those 3 days in a very acute way, very strict, if you can be real strict with those 3 days and really practice the respiriting with every little thing. And then by the 3rd day, when it rises, that's when the sun rises. That's when they talk about the birth of Christ, that Heru, or that superconscious mind, the wise ego. That is the birth of your superconscious mind. But now that it is here, it has to go to work. So that's the birth of it in those 3 days. But then the rest of the winter season, you have to constantly be working on respiriting. Heru has to do its job. Aset has to do her job. In order to completely resurrect Asar, in order to completely get rid of Set, because Set not just gonna go away in that one time. When you think about it, all year we're inundated with all kind of junk and stuff, all kind of distractions all year. So these 3 months, the first 9 months of the year, starting from now, first 9 months all the way through, all the way till you get up until about Sagittarius, right? Because the last 3 months, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces are it's that winter season time where it's time for you to really go within, and time to, detox, basically, to detox that ego, suction out what does not belong, whatever Set has picked up, whatever it may have been carrying, not just within that year, but from previous years. But now we're making an intentional move, to an intentional stand to extract Set, to detox and get rid of Set, so that when you truly do the work and you reach here at spring, happy new year, spring forward, it is time to prepare for that resurrection. If we were working it, we would have gotten rid of as much setness as possible. Dethrone, get rid of, let Heru completely get rid of it, and get rid of the set part of you, so that you can rise in your Asaurian wisdom. Which Aries, as we enter into Aries, Aries is the represents Asar. If I was to label the months by the Kemetic times, then it would be called Asar instead of Aries, which is how I'm going to label it on the calendar. Asar is going to represent the first month, which is Aries, because remember, these names are also Greek. Aries and all these other names that they give, it's still Greek. So we have to return back to our original form as much as possible. At least for me, that's my way. And those who are like me, like-minded, Kemetians, the Kemetics, the Kemetites, however you choose to say it, Kemet, right? That's where my book of life takes me. So this new year is inviting you to do something definitely different, true, being true to the new timeline. For those who welcome those who have been invested in a new timeline, who are ready to invest in seeing something new, grab a new calendar. If you hear of people doing a new calendar, when mine comes out, be ready to say, hey, that's that calendar, you know, that I want right there, that's restoring us to our origins, restoring us to a true sense of time, a true timeline. And there is no one way, but there is true. There's truth. There are truth ways, and there are many ways. So we just have to be on a path of truth. So as this new year springs forth, in this spring equinox, the equilibrium, equalizing ourselves out, the harmony, think of words like that, the harmony, the equality of it. The number 20 tends to come up. Something is in like 20 degrees, and this is probably on the 20th. For some people it's the 19th, for some it's the 20th, depending on where you are in the world. So it's the 20th is like the pair, the pairing up, the harmony, there we go. And the pair, the two, is a harmony. So there's definitely a harmony happening, and I'm inviting us to get into that in our soul work, and let your soul glow with this true year. Like I don't know, I'm just really excited about it being a true year, and me being able to be a part of it and seeing it and pioneering it in the part that I do take part in. It's a beautiful time. So I'm glad to see that we utilize what we've learned, the respiriting, especially those of you who have worked the respiriting, and seeing, like, journal about it if you can. Journal what has come up during this winter season for you. What did you find yourself respiriting and putting to death? What parts of your set self did you put to death? You know, that set self is like, hey, this is no more. This doesn't work. It is the misappropriations of your soul, and it drives us in the wrong direction. So look at what it is and write it down, and look at the power of the feminine energy. It's where I continue to invite us to feel. Feel free to feel. We have to feel, because the instructions are in the feeling. So let us set remember all the dismembered pieces in order to be impregnated with Heru and bring that forth. This is also where the Christians get that whole, you see Easter around the corner. This is how they put things together, and all of a sudden they talking about the resurrection. This is the true resurrection. Springtime coming forth. Heru doing what he has to do, and then here comes the true resurrection of Asar, the rise of a king in you, whether you are male or female. That's the rise of your wise ego, the rise of your wise conscious phase of mind, right? And the will to do things in the divine will, not your will, not in the will that you want, but in the divine's will, not thine, but divine, right? And this is the new emergence that we're coming into. So welcome to the happy, true new year for all of you who are so dear, so near, and so here. And if you're looking for a collective group, community, I am about community building. So as I always say, I invite us all. I'm not unreachable. Feel free to, you know, leave a message, leave a comment that lets me know that and I will be able to reach out to you, or put the information you know, down below, as they say. I'm still working on that down below, working on the technology of that. So with that, please like, subscribe, and share. I always say it at the end, and I know it's something that you're supposed to say in the beginning, or maybe it don't matter when you say it, but please like, subscribe, share, subscribe, and yeah, share with anyone who you feel may want to hear this, who knows about the new year, the true year, and who wants to see what it's about. What does it mean for me? What would I have been doing? And so from this point on, we want to make strides to step more, especially for what does this mean for the 5D? I didn't even mention that, but what it means for the 5D is a lot of people are coming online in the 5D, lighting up on the light grid activation. A lot of us are still light warriors working on the light grid activation. Even if you're not in an official group, you may be called to work solo right now, but you're at your station, right? So this is helping to light up the light grid and to thrust us forward into the 5D, into the 5th dimension. Those of us who are, because we're removing ourselves from the shadows of the 3D paradigm. If you already know this is the new year, then you are one of those who are stepping out of that matrix, who is stepping out of the shadows of the 3D paradigm. And these are one of the ways that you are, there are many ways, this is just one of them, one of the practices and one of the ways that we are breaking free, and the new, true new collective consciousness is re-emerging. It's emerging, but I say re because we're returning. We are returning to our authenticity. We're returning to our truths. We are returning to our higher spiritual selves. This is a powerful return. I want to say like return to sender. Like we are being returned to our sender, which is the divine I am that I am. Right? So let's return unto ourselves. Let's know ourselves. Know thyself is the key. If there's a motto you can go by this year, let it be to know thyself, and to thine own self be true. Like this true year, be true to you in whatever ways that rings for you. All right, be true to you, boo. All right, happy true new year. Enjoy y'all day. Enjoy the rest of you all, y'all. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your spring as you spring forth, and we go into the throat chakra, being more expressive. So now it's time to be a part of the expression of operating in our soul's integrity through our authenticity. We're calling forth that right now, and that's what we want to spring forward to. Spring some green leaves, something new and true that rings just for you. With that said, I love you all. Each one, reach one, teach one. If you don't know where to start in your big, beautiful heart. Shine your light from the inside out. Be the candle that lights the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Peace, love, and light.